opinion and some within my conference.
The average no votes for Democrats have been less than 1.
Well,
those
let's
last
see.
19 bills
Let's
through
see.
the last
The
year.
average Democrat vote, the Democrats are in the majority. They control the committees. They set a rule that no bill up until April go through committee, so they're pretty much writing it. So I don't see a problem. A bill can have a really nice name, but if you ever read through a bill itself and you give all the power to Democrats, I think there'd be a lot of no votes. Yes, you've been very eager today.
Do you think the Capitol Riot Commission should look at political violence more broadly, even events that had nothing to do with what happened here on January 6th?
I think there's a lot of things that happened. It's not just on January 6th. We had on Good Friday an officer get killed. I think if you're going to have a commission, you should look at the whole broad spectrums. We just went through a whole summer of riots throughout this city. We should grasp that as well. Yes?
Sir, do you have any idea who is going to give the Republican response?
Yes.
Can you tell us?
No.
Can you give us a hint?
No.
Are you choosing the House member?
How its selection goes, the leader in the Senate, the Republican leader in the Senate, the Republican leader in the House work together, and we selected the person more than a month ago. Yes.
Mr. McCarthy, you said that you spoke yesterday with the former president. What was the gist of that conversation?
Oh, I talked to him on the phone. We talk quite often. I was talking. He was just on television the night before. I was keeping him an update. Julia Letlow had gotten sworn in just a few days prior. You know, that changes the outcome of the percentage of votes that you need on the floor. He was very instrumental in helping her win in a primary where the Democrats did not. Because in Louisiana you have these jungle primaries, and we actually won the race earlier. And Julia Letlow, her husband Luke had won the seat and caught COVID and passed away before being sworn in. She is an amazing individual. Her background, PhD, when it comes to education and agriculture. And in the polls, 12 people were running. It's almost mathematically impossible to win this in a primary. And her polling was about 41%. And I had talked to the president prior, and it was about 2 weeks away before the election. And I was talking to him about Julia, and he knew Luke as well, and he wanted to get involved. And when he got involved, it kind of shifted the race, and she ended up winning by 65% of the vote. He was very vested in, like many of our races in the last that we were able to win. I mean, just since you're all reporters, you want to make sure you always have the facts right. I know you asked a question earlier about President Bush, and I'd like to have a discussion with him to understand what his feelings are. I want to know that it's not within Congress, because this was the first time since 1994 that no Republican incumbent lost. Not one Republican incumbent lost. There's only been 2 times in history that the party in power that have the White House lose the White House and actually gain seats. 1892 and 1992. Both times they won the majority 2 years later. There's more than 152 million votes for Congress. And the Republicans were 31,751 votes short of being in the majority. Now, put that with everything and all the questions you asked me the month before the election. The number one question you would ask me is, what's going to happen after I lose 15 seats? Could I still be leader after 15 seats? Not one of you would ever give the premise of the idea that Republicans would even in 1 seat. Then what happened was, you listened to Speaker Pelosi, who told you that she was going to not only keep the majority, she's going to win the majority for the next generation. You had Steny Hoyer stand up here as majority leader and tell you they were going to win 15 seats. They had the number right, the party wrong. So I think history is a little different here. And I think what you're seeing coming out of the floor of this House, that they understood what happened in that last election. They understand what's going to happen in the next one. So what they're proposing is not something that puts more people back to work. When you're the majority party, you control what bill is going to be H.R. 1, the most important bill of your majority. We had just gone through a pandemic, 10 million people out of work, millions of children have not been back in school in more than a year, and their H.R. 1 was about changing the election law to protect themselves to continue to get elected. Then they wanted to pack a court. Now they want to change a state. I don't know how many of those 10 million are not getting elected because they won't do their work. Then they created something on day one by an executive order. They created a crisis at a border. If you go to California, along the border in California, there is a there is a fence that is open, that the mechanism broke, but it cannot be fixed because of the president's executive order. One side's Mexico, one side's the United States. So you have to park a truck there. When I went to El Paso, along the border, to a new processing facility that we built under the Trump administration, and this government, we built it larger than we'd ever think we'd need it, 98,000 square feet. It met capacity that first day I was there. That meant 120 border agents could not be on the border protecting. I went up to Monument 3 to view it for myself, and I asked the border agents the question. They told me that they were capturing people, not just from Central America, but are on our terrorist watch list from Yemen. When I announced that at a press conference, you would think policymakers would say, oh my God, we need to protect our nation. Gallego, congressman on the other side of the aisle, called me a liar, challenged me on Twitter because he has the same approval for security clearance as I do. You had another Democratic congresswoman said I wasn't telling the truth. Day later, when they get the truth, maybe because of COVID and distancing and separation, they haven't been able to get close enough to apologize. They don't have to apologize. I just want them to do their job and protect Americans. In that time frame, we have caught 2 more people from Yemen coming into America, and they weren't together. They were on separate days. And I raised this question with you. Why are they coming here? How are they getting in? Who are they meeting with? And what do they have planned? That has nothing to do with changing the election law to control whether I can get reelected. It has nothing to do with pack the court so they won't find what the laws I passed unconstitutional. It happens to do with the security of this nation. And if the president won't even meet with us about the crisis, but he puts his vice president in charge and the vice president refuses to even go see it, we'll send her firsthand for those who take their job serious and believe in the security of this nation. One terrorist here is too much. I hope you all have a great weekend.